I've never felt restricted with the piano. I've never felt, you have to do it this way. You have to follow this progression. You have to, I've never felt like that, which is nice because to me, it's simply a passion. It's simply something I enjoy doing. And it's never been forced on me, not a single time.
Good morning, Joe.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
You're in France now.
I am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I live in France right now, so it's definitely a bit of a lifestyle change from the United States, but I love it.
Oh, is it? So what brought you to France?
So that's honestly an enormously long story. So I'll condense it a little bit for you. So
Okay.
in short, so I'm in the United States Army. Surprise, which is definitely one of the aspects of my life that people don't recognize right now with the hair living in France. It's definitely a unique part of my life. And the reason I'm here in France is the Army sent me here for a 3-year program to do something different, right? The Army is a pretty standardized thing. The military is a standardized thing. And obviously, we all know what that implies, what that job entails to an extent. But because of the requirements of the military, they often give to us as officers, I'm an officer, a period of time that's a break, if you will, kind of a pause from the normal, right? So I found this program called the Olmsted program, which gave me the opportunity to learn French and then come over here and live abroad and get a master's degree at the university that's here. So it's been an incredible experience. And during this time of kind of pause, if you will, I've been able to really focus in on music too, which has been a huge plus. So that's kind of the short version
Okay.
of that story.
But why French? What was the interest in French?
So it's funny that you asked that. When I was younger, when I was a lot younger, I always thought, wow, it'd be cool to learn French. I'm pretty sure the ladies love French, so I think I want to learn French. That's kind of the silly way to look at it. But as I grew up and got older, I just fell in love with the French culture, the cuisine. I came out here in 2010 and saw it for the first time, and I just fell in love with it. So when I kind of realized I might have an opportunity through this program that I just described to do something with French or France in general, I jumped on it. So yeah, I suppose that's why.
Yeah, well, this is amazing that you get these opportunities from the, well, it's a government that then
Right.
actually, and they pay for you to do that.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, exactly. And it's a
Wow.
blessing, definitely a gift.
Yeah.
So, but just like anything, there's a cost, right? So I owe a little bit more time to the military afterwards. But in my mind, one of my goals in life was to become fluent in a foreign language. And because of this program, I can say I've achieved a level of fluency in French that I would not have had otherwise. So definitely very grateful for it.
And you said that you have a great interest in music. Was that always the case?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, since a young age.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, absolutely. So my entire life, really. I mean, it's funny the way I got into music, into the piano rather, when I was young, probably 8 or 9 or something like that. I was a very energetic kid. I had a lot of energy, and I needed to find a way to kind of let it out. And so I wanted to play the drums. And my parents were like, "Yeah, no, absolutely not. Maybe you start with piano." And my dad said, "Yeah, you're not playing the drums until you learn the piano and learn music basics first." And of course, I wasn't happy about that. I was frustrated. But that's probably the best no I've ever been told in my life because it opened up a world that I didn't know that I would fall in love with, being the piano specifically. And I didn't need to play the drums after that. So I took lessons for about a year and a half after that. And my teacher, her name was Linda Wimberly, she helped me unlock this passion that I didn't realize I had. And she encouraged me to learn the hard pieces that I wanted to learn. I mean, she taught me the basics, right? How to read music, how to do scales, how to understand chord structure, etc. But she didn't restrict me to that standardized path, if that makes sense. She encouraged me to jump into the Beethoven sonatas, the Chopin etudes, And because of her, and my parents forcing me away from the drums, I found this passion in piano. So,
But this is a very much different. So you didn't go that route where you started, the basic stuff of piano, and you gradually worked yourself up. So you were just thrown into the big stuff.
kind of, in a sense, yes, ma'am. Because I remember my friend, I had a dear friend named Brian Trace who played the piano his whole life. So he was playing before I was. And we were friends. I go over to his house as a kid and I'd see him play these just really cool things. And I was always impressed by it. And I told myself, and this was before saying I want to learn piano, but I was always impressed by it. But when I realized that the piano was something I was going to be doing, I said, I need to learn the songs that Brian played or something like what Brian could do, because I was just so impressed. And so the first one that really caught my ear was Beethoven's Pathetique Sonata, the first movement specifically. And ironically, that was the same piece that my teacher, Mrs. Wimberly, had played for her, I believe, for her final exam at her musical university. And so she was excited to help me learn it. And she said, you know what? We'll do some basics, we'll do some scales, we'll do some technique, etc., and we'll also practice the Pathetique. So yeah, I kind of learned the basics at the same time as this master sonata by Beethoven. Which was
Incredible.
quite,
Yeah.
so,
But do you think this also gives you some sort of freedom in front of the piano? That you already broke the rules a little bit, so that you now keep on breaking it. That it's easy to do it.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, exactly. It definitely, it didn't give me, I've never felt restricted with the piano. I've never felt, you have to do it this way. You have to follow this progression. You have to, I've never felt like that, which is nice, because to me, it's simply a passion. It's simply something I enjoy doing. And it's never been forced on me, not a single time. And with that, because it's been a passion, it's been a hobby, it's been something that I've always wanted to do something with, like in life, maybe if that opportunity ever presented itself. But up until now, it hasn't, and it really would be hard to do it with the military. But yeah, my path is definitely one that's kind of like this all over the place with music, with life in general. So it kind of is like my life, yeah.
Yeah, but this is very interesting, because also what I'm trying to get across also with talking to different people in different art forms is that you don't necessarily have to be a professional musician to be able to really go into an instrument and and play it and enjoy it. And I see also on your Instagram page, because this is where I discovered you, and you call yourself, but I like how you do it, because in our minds, sometimes we see the final product, but you never realize the struggles that you go through, and you're really showing that. You're really showing a guy who's working at it. But why do you call yourself the angry pianist?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's more of a joke than anything. But I mean, that is my true reaction when I practice. I get frustrated because I'm a perfectionist. I mean, if I want to do something, I want to do it correctly, and that includes music. And I mean, you could ask my dear mother, who put up with years of me practicing and banging on their piano. Now I have my own, luckily.
Okay, yeah.
So they'd get, my mom would be like, Joe, stop banging the piano. Like, stop getting angry at the piano. Practice like a normal child. What's wrong with you? So, but yeah, so it kind of just comes from the fact that, as you practice, as you learn, it's a frustrating process, right? Like, it doesn't come like that. Like you just said, it's a grueling process sometimes to master. And I would argue that you can never master music. And I'll get into that in a second, but it's a grueling process to master a piece, to really learn it in its entirety. And it can be frustrating. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm very energetic. I've got kind of a loud personality, and so it kind of clashes with the piano a little bit. It's kind of the inverse of piano, with the exception of some pieces. But I kind of thought that would be a funny name to call myself, and it makes sense with the stupid videos I do.
No, I absolutely love it. So,
Well,
but
thank you.
yeah, but you were saying about not that you feel that you can never perfect it, that you can never get that ultimate place in music?
Mhm. Yeah. So what I mean by that is I think music is, first of all, it's very subjective, right? What might sound phenomenal to me as a final product could sound terrible to someone else. My interpretation of Chopin's Polonaise in A flat major could be completely different than how someone else would play it. And so to master something, I mean, you're never going to please everyone, right? You're always going to have dissenters or people who hear it and say, "Oh, I don't like how he played that portion," right? So mastery is, unless you're talking the ability to play every note and every every musical oh shoot symbol, etc.
Yeah.
Even so, even yes, we know symbols have definitions, forte, piano, crescendo, all that stuff. It's interpreted differently. So mastery is subjective in my mind. So you'll never please everyone with your version of mastery. That's kind of what I mean by that.
Yeah, well, I spoke to a professor in piano last week, and he said exactly the same thing, that he's actually teaching piano, and his students, that that it can be the same piece, but they all play it differently, and he allows that, he encourages them to do it, to really put their own stamp on it. And I think that makes music then interesting, because we hear what you are speaking through the piano.
Right, exactly. And music is, I've always told people that are interested in music, and I talk about music with it. Music is a universal language. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
You can go into a room full of Asians, Middle East, French, German, American, and Brazilians, play a song, and they're all going to hear it and listen to it and be intrigued by it. And it's going to tell them something. It's going to invoke emotion. And you can, in a way, tell them a little bit about you or how you feel or what you're thinking about through the music. And they'll understand that, because emotion is a human thing. It's a human reaction. So yeah, it is a way to express yourself, and everyone can understand it. But again, everyone's going to understand it a little differently. They're going to hear it differently. It goes back to the mastery point.
Yeah. But now, in being in the military, you have this acquired discipline, and a routine and all that. Does it help for you to in the music, in practicing and getting your sort of motivation into it?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it does. I am very regimented in terms of time management for the most part. Being here in France has allowed me to kind of ease off, extreme rigidity, which has been nice, kind of a nice break. But in terms of piano, I dedicate probably, right now I just started school again, so I probably do about an hour a day on the piano. But during the summer, I was probably practicing for up to 3 hours a day or so. And as far as rigidity, I would focus in on a little section and play it 10, 20, 30 times until I'm just sick of it. And then I'll play it 30 more times, So that discipline has definitely helped me improve my music. I would say it's like anything. It's like I played sports my whole life. So it's like sports. It's muscle memory. It's repetition. And that's the same in the military. It's repetition of how to do certain tasks, certain drills, etc. And that absolutely applies to piano. And that's where music becomes, music is the confluence of two things in my mind. It's the confluence of emotion and science techniques, right? And it's because the piano is a technical thing. There are 88 keys, and if you play them a certain way, it creates a certain sound, and that's very technical. It's scientific. The intervals between keys are always going to produce the same sound. So the confluence of emotion and science is music. And so the ability to master that requires practicing both.
Yeah.
So,
but now in the military, so before you went to the military, was there any thought in your mind of, what, I would love to be a professional musician? Or was it just something that you always knew you will just do on the side?
So I think I've always had in the back of my head that I think it would be really cool to do something professionally with music. But I think the desire to do something more with it, like professionally, if you will, has been more in like seriously rather than just kind of a dream, has
Yeah.
been within the last couple of years. The military and the United States Military Academy beforehand, that kind of took all of my focus for a while. And now here in France and the year before, I've had some time to kind of like reflect on what I want to do in the long term. And I would love to make piano a part of my life in terms of professionally. I've never had professional lessons. I haven't gone to music school. All I did was take those lessons with Mrs. Wimberly when I was 13 or 12 or however. I don't know how
Yeah.
that was. But beyond that, I'm self-taught, and I would love to find a way to do it professionally. But if that doesn't work, I'm blessed to have this as a passion and the gift to just play and be happy with that. So.
But in the military, while you were in the military now, was there time for you to also play, and was it something that you could sort of also do on the side?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, there was sometimes I had time. The nature of the military, you move around a lot, right? I've lived all over the United States. And now, obviously, I live in another country. I've deployed a couple of times to various places, and so with this kind of lifestyle, it becomes hard to sometimes find the time. In my last location, I was in Texas, and I had an electric piano there, but it's not the same as having a real piano. It's really not. And that was a period of time that I kind of diverted away from piano. Not I'd still play occasionally, but it just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And so the military definitely has made it tough. But when I got to France, I bought a real piano, and it's brought me unending joy. And now that'll be with me everywhere I go. So even the next place in the military, I'll be able to keep playing. But it does challenge your dedication to your passion in the military sometimes, but that's a part of it.
Yeah. You mentioned also now previously there's the connection that you can see between the science and the music. Do you think also in education, if children can be taught, say, music or any form of art alongside science and maths, that would really be beneficial, because you now saying how this brings you so much joy, and how you can actually also see the benefit from the discipline, that you can see, okay, well, I also need discipline to play the piano. It's the discipline I've learned in the military. So that many of these things link, with doing certain things, so that if children can be taught a form of art, and that dedication, that will spill over to other jobs that they start doing.
Yeah, I think it's yes, ma'am. I mean, I think it's very important to teach kids at a young age the arts, and not force it on them. But I think they should be given exposure to as many arts as possible. And I think naturally kids are going to find what it is that works for them, and that's how it was for me. We were forced to pick between when I was in middle school, before high school. I don't know if middle school translates. When I was 12 or so, 12, 13, we were required to choose between chorus or band, right? So you either sing or you play an instrument, and that was required. And another one was either do art or literature, but we had to do some of literature, of course, that's normal, but I can't remember precisely. But my point is they exposed us to all the different forms of art. Mm-hmm. And in line with that, the normal curriculum of sciences and technology and all that stuff. So, and what that does, it exposes kids and helps them discover new passions. And back to the technology, the science, technique, and art. I mean, to get better at any art, you have to apply and practice, and you have to adhere to the sciences behind that art. So there's a natural connection between the two. And it is important to teach that to kids, that you can practice anything and get better at it, just like sports. And sports are the same as music in the vein that you're not going to improve if you don't practice, right? And you're not going to, and so yes, in short, children should be taught and at least have forced upon them, because they don't know otherwise, the arts to an
Yeah,
extent, and then they can choose their path. In my
yeah.
mind. Mhm.
But now, Joe, tell me what is now the wish for you for the future with your French and your music?
That is a very deep question. Well, I guess I think if I were to talk long term, I think I would love to play music professionally. I think that's my new kind of mentality that I've adopted over the last year. I would love to play professionally. I just have to figure out how, because I still owe time in the military, which means that I'm going to move again. I'll leave France sometimes next summer. Um, but music is my passion. I mean, it is. And, I like all types of things that are entertainment, restaurants, bars, hotels. I would love to be in the service industry. I am involved in the service industry in some ways. But I would love for music to become my life. And so I guess if that answers your question, I would like to play professionally, but it's going to be a little while before I can get there. So it's funny that what I've decided was in my head, I told myself, if I want to prove myself, if I want to show that I can be in that world amongst professionals without having been professionally trained, without having any credentials from a musical university, I told myself I'm going to learn one of the hardest pieces that exists. So
Yeah.
right now I'm working Rachmaninoff's third piano concerto, and I'm maybe 6 pages in, and it is a monster, but I'm learning it. And I
You're
figured if
banging
I
you're banging the piano.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah, yeah. The piano suffers routinely. So I figured if I can learn that and say, yeah, I know this piece, maybe that will justify me in the future, not
Yeah.
having had an education in music. So we'll see.
Well, no, but it's very interesting that you say that, because there are many people that I've spoken to that didn't have any, formal education in some form of art. I mean, I
Is that
spoke to an
right?
actor. Yeah, I spoke to an actor in Canada who was trained as an architect, and he just decided he wanted to be an actor, and he did a workshop to know what to do in an audition, and
Wow.
he's an actor now, and so I,
Wow.
yeah, so I think when the will is there and the vision, then it is possible, and you just have to get the door that's going to lead you to whatever you want to do. So, well, you've
I
made
agree.
the wish. Yeah, you've made the
Totally
wish
agree.
now here on this channel, and many people who made wishes, their wishes came true. So we will have another interview when
Oh,
you're,
yeah.
yeah, when your wish comes.
Fantastic. I'll look forward to it.
Yeah, keep me posted.
I will. I will. This has been
Yeah,
a pleasure, Petra. Thank you very much. I really
yeah,
appreciate it out, and this is really cool. The story that you're putting together for all of the artists. It's really cool. Your objective with it. So
I'm
very well
glad.
done.
I'm glad you enjoyed. And now I love your videos. I love that you just show it real. That it's real, and it's seeing the process, and I think that's very encouraging. Also for many people who just want to do it for fun or want to do
Right.
it as something on the side. But now I just want
Absolutely.
to have one more question for you. Can you do a shout out for your favorite coffee shop in France or restaurant?
My favorite coffee shop or restaurant. Oh wow.
Or what do they call it
Uh,
there? Patisserie.
so I guess my favorite place. I'm gonna give my favorite shout out to the bread store that I go to. It's
Okay.
it's La Boulangerie de Farinoman.
Yeah.
Because that's the place that has probably taken most of my money. Because baguettes and bread in France are essential to life, and
Yeah.
just like water. So I've spent probably a large amount of my paycheck. So I give my shout out to La Boulangerie de Farinoman.
Oh, okay. Joe, have a wonderful time, and all the best with your French learning, your piano, and I hope you get the girl, or with the French
That's
and the
right.
piano. It's an advantage. And
Thank you.
whenever you come to Vienna, let me know, and we'll
I
grab
will.
a coffee here.
I would love that. In fact, Austria is on my list, so I will absolutely
Oh,
reach out to you
really?
after.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Joe, have a lovely afternoon, and
Merci
I hope
beaucoup,
to see you.
Petra. You too.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.